Earlier this month, the United States Agency for International Development announced funding for Iraqi Christians will now go directly to groups on the ground who are helping religious minorities. Nina Shea, director of the Center for Religious Freedom at the Hudson Institute, joins me. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, Lauren.
You have been a very vocal critic of the UN on this issue. In this new allocation of funds, the UN is involved, but USAID has oversight. Will this work?
Well, I'm hoping that it'll work, but the USAID has called for the UN to improve its accountability, transparency, and due diligence, which is a really damning statement when you think about it, because that means that they don't have those things right now. So it's going to be a big job for them, and half the money is going directly to the minorities, to the Christians and other minorities, and it's thanks to Vice President Pence. He has been just on top of this issue since October, really making it happen. So half the money that we will give will go directly to the NGOs on the ground. The other half is still going to go through the UN. Including
the NGOs, including the Catholic Church. When I was there, I saw villages just destroyed, in rubble.
Yes.
And I know that Archbishop Warda there says that these conditions that the people are living in right here, there is no way without millions and millions of dollars that those towns will ever come back. And it could mean the end of Christianity in the Middle East, in the cradle of
Christianity.
Right.
Yes, this is a significant population for the Christians of the Middle East, the Christians in Iraq. They have more biblical history there than any other place other than Israel. It's very important. They got their faith from Thomas the Apostle, doubting Thomas directly. So it's an important area. Today they are fasting as Prophet Jonah told them, exhorted them to do for 3 days. So it's an ancient community. We want to make sure they stay if they can.
Well, some Christians in Iraq some critics of the change say that this could exacerbate fighting among the factions by giving this money to Christians and further endanger communities already at risk. What do you say about that argument?
I think that's nonsense. You have to look at the bigger context. These are people that were targeted for genocide by ISIS. And for the past 3 years, they got virtually nothing of aid from the U.S. because we sent it through the UN, and they marginalized these groups. There is not a single camp in this area run by the UN for Christians. They are expected to go as individuals to camps that are infiltrated by ISIS itself, where they are persecuted. So they don't go. So they have gotten nothing from the UN, and because we've sent for the past 9 years our aid through the UN to this region, they've gotten nothing from the US either.
So now it's $110 million that is going. Is that enough?
It's not going to be enough alone. Private aid is still going to be important. One of the big push that I'm involved in right now is to get investment into this area, because these are people that are skilled, that have jobs. The National Catholic Register has a report today about how a man had lost his agricultural tools and was raising turkeys before ISIS came. And he's a professor, but his money and his income came from the agricultural work. Those are all lost. He needs to replace them. He doesn't need new skills. He has those skills.
He needs equipment.
But he needs equipment. Think of dentists.
Right.
Think of beauty salons.
Sure.
All that equipment has been destroyed or stolen by ISIS.
I sat with a man who owned a hardware store, everything destroyed. Another man who invited me in for breakfast was an electrician. All of his things were destroyed. We have to leave it there. Nina Shea, director for the Center for Religious Freedom at the Hudson Institute. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lauren.